1, 2, 1, 2, check, check. If you can see and or hear me, let me know. It's my first time live streaming, I think, like this. I'm recording. Let's check some stuff. One, 2, 3. Nice. Okay, well, I'm gonna wait a few minutes until we might get more people in, and just do a few checks. Yes. Or is it? Oh, wait. Cool. Yeah, how are we looking on the participants? We have Wieland, which I'm very happy that we have Wieland. As I'm going to dive into some TauCeti stuff in conjunction with TouchOSC, kind of like an automatic preset mapping thing, let's say. And then we're gonna do a lot of T3D, which we should be able to see in this preview, if everything goes right. Yes. So we have some T3D action here that we're gonna break down. And also there's gonna be, I mean, I will not dive into the volumetric rendering setup of LedPulse because I can't. But yeah, I will talk about a lot of principles and, let's say, design thinking behind the live show or live set. And of course, we're gonna dissect also the Bitwig patch and how I use it in conjunction with TouchDesigner. So I think I'm gonna wait until 6:05, like 3 more minutes. And until then, I'm gonna check. So you should be able to hear this, I hope. Can I see this somehow on my... Yeah, let's just assume that you can hear this, because you should be able to hear this. At any point, feel free to ask questions or let me know if the audio is like too low, too high when it comes to the sound. Hey Sarv, thanks for the feedback. That's great. Yeah, I think, yeah, let's just kick it off. I'm gonna mute this sound for a sec and go back to this. Okay. So welcome to the stream. In this stream, I'm gonna show you the, hey Tommy. In this stream, I'm gonna show you the breakdown of the patch, or like the whole live set basically, of this performance. I assume that you have seen this, it's on my YouTube. Just a quick reminder, so I performed under the LedPulse Dragon O volumetric system. I was controlling the visuals live and also doing the music live. It was a wonderful experience, and one that I will never forget. Hey Joseph. And yeah, it was super nice. I prepared a lot, but I really want to show you how I prepared my TouchDesigner live set, like my project file, and also the Bitwig project file, as well as TouchOSC. So this is kind of what I was doing. At some point it went into kind of more energetic thing. yeah, I assume that you've seen this, or maybe over there in person. I will show a few pictures of kind of the setup that I had. Let me do that here. So maybe this, let's start with this. So this is the full setup that I had in front of me. This is my MacBook M1. What is this? This is my MacBook M1 Air. I was running Bitwig on this, and there was another server in the back of the room that was driving the visuals live. And I was communicating through Ethernet, TDBitwig. So it's the analog of TD Ableton, basically the same kind of thing. Direct communication between Bitwig and Ableton through Ethernet, as well as I have my little tablet here. I was running TouchOSC, where I was controlling presets and some faders. And yeah, basically that's it. I have my little Novation launch control XL here. This fader is busted, so that kind of sucks. And my Minilab, where I was playing some notes and using all the controls here, as well as some pads. This is my little Jaguar, whatever, Squire. And these are the pedals that I used. So I started off with just guitar and like little ambient stuff. I really like this Boss digital delay. I used the warp effect, which is kind of like an infinite looper, like a micro looper, let's say. Then I have my Line 6 Helix Stomp, where I'm running amp simulator and some modulation effects. Then there's the Flashback 2 from TC Electronic. I use this for like ambient delays and all sorts of delays. And then the big thing is the Zoya, which is kind of a modular synthesizer, like a modular node-based digital signal processing pedal. Yeah, basically all these little buttons are similar to TouchDesigner or Bitwig's grid. These have all, you can program each of these buttons to have like a function. Yeah, these are nodes basically. So these are nodes, and you can make connection between nodes and modulate parameters similar to TouchDesigner. The only thing is it's hardware only, so you have to do everything on the device itself, which is kind of fun. And then that was running into my setup. Oops. But anyway, I think that's what I wanted to show about the kind of hardware stuff. Maybe a little bit of a background that how I got to perform, or like what was leading up to me performing under the volumetric lights. Basically, I've been working together with LedPulse for more than a year now on a project basis, and I was helping them set up the installation in Monopole, like 2 rooms, the one where I was playing and another one where the kinetic installation was ongoing. So I was helping with system development and such. And then I proposed that I want to play an actual live set where I do the visuals and the sound together. And that's how it happened. So we have the Touch project here. To go ahead of questions of the LedPulse render engine, or like how the LedPulse works, I can show like a brief overview of what is available or what we can do. Obviously, I cannot go inside and show you the magic, yeah, basically this is the Dragon system. We worked on it together with Joseph Peltz, who is also in the chat right now. He already had a version of it, a volumetric render engine, but I came in and kind of cleaned it up and made it more modular and more future-proof with some system design elements. And it's really great engine. By default, what you can do there, let me clean this up maybe. Maybe this will be better. Yeah, definitely. So by default, you can drag any kind of geometry, like TouchDesigner geometry, onto this component, and then there's a preview which looks like this, and this is basically the room of monopole. We can also preview the scene itself, which we are rendering right now is just a simple torus. We can preview the LED modules as such. We can take a look at, like, yeah, we can display the LEDs as grids, kind of. But then let's get rid of all that. What's really important here is the content, obviously. And the content can be, in this case, it's a simple SOP. I could, for example, add some noise to this torus. And if we take a look at the preview, we can see that this noise is being then applied and directly rendered onto the Dragon volumetric lights. So it's a very, very quick and like very smooth way of creating content. But this is one way of creating content using geometry. The other way is using T3D, which is a new operator family developed by LedPulse. Be sure to check out his Patreon to learn more about it. And basically, it's really working with volumetric content, working with T3D, which is 3D texture-oriented workflow. It really makes a lot of sense to work with 3D textures, because the problem with the geos, for example, with this torus, is this torus doesn't have anything inside it. It's only a surface, as the SOP, like SOP, surface operator, kind of tells us. This only defines a surface. It doesn't say anything about what's inside this torus. So, hey Aaron, nice to see you. So it's yeah, it's kind of limiting. Of course, you can do nice particle systems. You can do a lot of great things with geos. So it's still a very good way to deal with content, like using SOPs or whatever. But really, working with 3D textures in T3D, it just makes everything feel much more, let's say, native, or kind of as it should be. It feels really organic to work with 3D textures. So we are able to to do beautiful, more beautiful things, I think. And I will show you how I use T3D in this setup. Yeah, the output of all this is again a sorry, wrong button. Again, like a 3D texture, and this goes onto the hardware of LedPulse. I cannot tell you anything more about it, and it's not even important. What's really good is from an artist standpoint. You create your content in TouchDesigner, you previsualize it using the system, and then you connect to the hardware, and it's kind of there. It's almost magical. Of course, there's a lot of knowledge and a lot of work behind it, that it's so smooth, but it's a very nice system to work with. Yeah, that's kind of the high-level overview, let's say. Did I try it with pops, is the question. No, maybe Joseph can tell us if it will be possible, or I think it will be possible at one point, for sure. I don't see why not, but right now it wasn't in the scope to use pops. But yeah, anyway, I think T3D is, to me, it's I don't know if pops will solve this issue of having volumes. Of course, you can create more granular geometry with pops, so maybe it will kind of be a substitute. But I really enjoy working with T3D. Okay, let's look at the content. So instead of a geo, I have my T3D content, which is basically a 3D texture that gets then mapped into the volumetric space. And then I have, like, when I work in live sets, or I work for live sets, I tend to create one big component that is very flexible and has a ton of ton of custom parameters that I can play with instead of having different scenes. So as I don't want to deal with scene switching so much. Rather, I try to build visual instruments, let's say, that are flexible. And this is what I did also here. So this contains all my visual system and like everything in here. As you can see, there's quite a few parameters that I'm mapping, and I will tell in a second like how I deal with all these parameters. I counted it's like 120 parameters that I have. Obviously, I cannot control each one of them live, especially if I'm performing with a guitar and like a synth and everything going on at the same time. So obviously all these 120 plus parameters, they are not managed by me real time or like live, but I'm using instead TauCeti, which is a preset manager by Alpha Moonbase, Wieland, my great master. Yeah, I really enjoy working with this preset system. He has a few videos on it on his YouTube channel, I believe. They are quite old videos, but I think they still capture the essence of the preset manager. But then anyway, I will kind of do a quick demo of it in a second. I think first I will go into the patch itself and do kind of a high-level overview of the patch. So there's 3 main elements that I'm playing with, and I can also preview them. The first element that I start with in the live set is a torus. Let's see if we can previsualize this. Yeah, this is a torus here. Oh wait. Okay, that's kind of messed up. Give me 1 second, cause I'm okay, hang on for a second because I have this preview and I should link these. Yeah, that's good. So the first element that I'm playing with in the live set, if you have seen it, is with the guitar, and then I have this torus. And what I do with this torus, which is a torus here with a T3D shape. So a torus, I'm transforming this torus around with the guitar's amplitude, let's say. So if I start to play some notes on my guitar, this torus will eventually, if it's like loud enough, and I don't think you can hear it, but it's fine. It starts moving. Nothing too fancy. The song starts kind of slow, ambient-y, so this just reacts very slightly. But then what happens after this torus is a lot of feedback and composition with other T3D shapes as well. The main thing that I'm using here, like up until this point, sorry, to show you better, blah, blah, blah. First time doing live stream, so I'm a little bit lost. Where's my TouchOSC? Yes. So, yeah, I was showing the wrong screen. So I have the torus here. I do the transformation, again, T3D transforms to move it around. And the main thing that is driving the visual look itself is then this feedback. So similar to top feedbacks, you can do feedbacks on 3D textures and they act in 3D space. So that is perfect for us. If you look at the preview, kind of, it's doing some things with the torus, right, with the default torus. So far, like, this is a torus that stays in one place. No, it's not pops, it's T3D. So our torus that is input into the system, like right now it's staying in one place, but I have a lot of feedback networks inside this one network. So this is something that I built myself. Basically, it has an edge feedback, like the same kind of feedback that you have in 2D or tops, like the normal, yeah, those kind of feedbacks work in T3D also. So I have a displace feedback built into this one, a slope feedback also, and of course transforming the feedback. Like all these I built into one network here with a lot of high-level control. So yeah, as I said, it's nothing too fancy. The same feedback networks that you see in all the tutorials or in the palette, you can build them out in T3D also. And that's what's kind of driving the visuals a lot of times, actually. So that's the big trick that I use. Let's try another preset, and maybe also let's get the color in here. Yeah, here we have some color also. If I start playing the guitar, maybe I will actually unmute the system here. Previewing it on the dragon itself. Why is it not showing though? Oh yeah, there it is. Just a little bit faint. Anyway, the live set kind of starts off slow, and I didn't want too much brightness going on in the set itself, so it's not so visible on the preview. Oh, there we go. There we have something. Yeah, so that's how it starts. And then I go into using my MIDI keyboard, and what I'm doing there is I switch to another preset in my preset system, and as I'm playing the notes on my keyboard, let's have a look at it, like maybe the T3D, yeah. So as I'm playing notes on my keyboard, the notes trigger these lines coming in. So the higher the note, the higher it appears in the volume. So if we have a look at it in the Dragon preview, we can see that also there. So this is kind of the second kind of look that happens. And I will go through the Bitwig setup, how I get these notes into TouchDesigner. But yeah, that's kind of the idea, that I'm playing these notes, and actually the notes play themselves because it's a generative Bitwig setup that I will show. But let me mute the guitar. Yes. Is it muted? Okay. Yeah. So this is the second thing that I do. And what happens here is I get the notes from Bitwig. I will show soon how I get them, but these are the notes that I then map onto a texture with a chop to chop the top. Nothing too fancy. Flip it so it's horizontal. And then this goes into, yeah, I'm adding some feedback so they fade out over time a little bit. And then this goes onto, ignore all this mess, this goes onto the T3D top 2, like top 2 T3D, is rather how I would say it, which creates from this top kind of like a time propagated representation. So if you just look at the raw data, we can see that this top gets, like the first frame when it appears, it's mapped to the right side, and then each frame it gets pushed more in depth, let's say. Is there anything that I can show here? No, but that's the basic idea of it. Notes appear, they travel through, they fade out, easy. And then all that goes through, again, the feedback network that I showed before. Right now it doesn't do anything actually, but also what I'm doing at one point, I use the complex OP. So what happens here is I have my lovely complex OP component. So in comes the 2D texture, goes into the complex OP, and then that goes into T3D. So now we get these kind of nice, kind of more complex looking lines, or like nice shapes, but they are still directly driven by the MIDI keyboard. So that's the second element that I play with, and then the third element is our good old friend noise. So this is a 3D noise field in T3D, very similar to 2D noise, except it's 3D, like so. And then with this one, I do a lot of different things. I mean, actually not a lot. I'm, again, driving everything through the T3D feedback, which does, I don't know what, you know, at some point I'm just playing with the parameters, and then things start to look good, and then I'm happy. That's the real fun of working in systems, or like kind of visual instruments, that you don't really need to understand what you're doing. You just build the high level functionality and then start playing with all the parameters. So yeah, here I have, no, actually, sorry, this is still driven by the notes. This is still driven by the notes. It's not noise. It's just a lot of feedback, and also a lot of, actually no, it's just a lot of feedback on top of the traveling MIDI notes. Yeah, and then the third is when I think, yeah, I start playing with the noise when the drums kick in. So I will just do that on my end. Maybe we can hear some of it. Yeah, we can see some reaction to the noise, or sorry, to the music. As I said, I have a 3D noise that I'm playing with a lot of time here. This is kind of the raw input, let's say. And then this also goes through my feedback system. I'm doing a lot of transformation, which kind of compresses then the noise, and you know, it kind of looks from the side as your typical 2D feedback, transform feedback, but this all happens in 3D. So when we look at it on the Dragon, we can see the inside also reacting and compressing, and things just start to move in super interesting ways, transforming things also in the Z direction, which you normally don't have in 2D, obviously. So I play with this a lot also later on. But again, this feedback network is doing like 80% of the work here. Super simple inputs as this traveling texture, the torus, and then the noise, and then this feedback is just yeah, doing a lot of things. Yeah, what can I say? Maybe I will dive back in here after I show the preset system. Kind of how, yeah, because the preset system allows us to be super flexible with our setup and our audio activity, and yeah, I will just go through the preset system now and come back here later. But yeah, this was kind of like a high level overview of the visual patch itself. Let's mute the sound now. So as I said, I'm using the TauCeti preset system from Alpha Moonbase. Love it, and also the preset mapper. So what the preset manager allows us to do, and maybe I will just put down a new one and show it off on a different preset manager. Yeah, beautiful. And I will just put down a bass comp with a noise inside, let's say. Just a very simple setup. Let's output this. And let's control the period, amplitude, I don't know, harmonics, exponent, and offset. Cool. So we have this bass comp. This can be any number of bass comps that I can drag onto. Sorry, we're in the previous. I'm sorry, thank you. Yes. So sorry. What I did, I just created a new bass comp with some parameters mapped onto these custom parameters, just to show off the base functionalities of the preset system or the preset manager. And then I just added a new preset manager from the Olib browser, which is super cool. You can just drag and drop things from here. We will need this preset mapper also. So what I can do now is I can drag this component or any number of components onto the preset manager, and the custom parameters will be added to the preset stack. So now that I have my first preset, I can name this init, for example, and hit record. Then I can start changing some parameters as I like. I don't know, maybe this is something that I really love. Cool, and I name this low exponent. You can name this whatever. Cool, now I have two presets, which for some reason show up here. I can go back to my initial preset just by recalling it, selecting it and recalling it. And then these parameters, they interpolate nicely back to their preset values. I can define the fade time and also the fade curve. Yeah, it's off the screen, but there's like, I don't know, there's a lot of them. And then I can recall my high exponent one or like low exponent one like this. And it's gonna do it now with a curve, I hope. But what's also nice is, obviously, yeah, as I said, we can drag and drop multiple operators into this. But also, if we have a, for example, an LFO driving one of the parameters, let's do, I don't know, let's do the amplitude, for example, or yeah, let's just do whatever. Let's do the period. Yeah. So I want the third preset when everything is driven by an LFO. So I will just add a new preset here, call this LFO. And now let's go back to the init. And as you can see, my expression that was the LFO disappeared, and it did so in a very smooth way. So if I go back to my LFO script, things kind of pick up to the LFO driving the animation, and then the the expression also comes back. So this allows me to create presets where some parameters, where some parameters of my big visual instrument are driven by some chops, and in others not. So this makes it super flexible to create presets. So I can, in one preset, say, hey, I want the displays to be driven by a kick, but in another preset I don't want. And when I go between these presets, there's no hassle. There's no hard cuts. There's nothing that I really need to think about, because it just does the trick. So it's very useful. We can see that, yes, and it picked up to the LFO value. So this is what I do in my live set a lot. I have here, you cannot really see it. Maybe I try it like this. Here I have a bunch of presets that I was in the space. Basically, I was in the space I think 5 days before the performance, and I was sleeping there. I was like there until 6 a.m. every day, and just building. I mean, this visual instrument was kind of built. A lot of things were built, so I went there prepared. I thought about all the parameters that I might want to put into the preset system and that I might want to play with. So I was half prepared when I went there, but then really to work with the system, to work on the presets, I had to be in the space. Even though we have this super nice pre-visualizer, this is kind of half of the story, because even though we still can see the movement and kind of the general feeling of things, the colors are not one-to-one matching to reality, obviously. So this is an ideal state, and the LEDs themselves have a gamma curve. They saturate in certain ways, and just the natural consequences of light and ambient light and the whole space. These things all add up, and you don't need to be in the actual space to work on the thing. But the previs gives you a very good idea, and I believe they are working on an Unreal Engine pre-visualization system where you are able to more accurately pre-visualize your scene. But yeah, what I did, I had this huge system already built, went in and started building all these. Wait, I'm hearing my guitar's noise and it kind of bothers me. Better. Yeah. Where was I? Yeah, preset system. So I built all these presets. It's a lot of presets to trigger them live when I'm playing, because obviously if I'm playing live music, I will be quite preoccupied with playing the instruments and the synthesizer and everything. So my only option was building a lot of these presets and then triggering them. And to trigger the presets, there's this very handy preset mapper. It is also part of the TauCeti preset manager system. So here's the preset mapper. Here I can, for each of these slots, there's 16 of them, I can define which preset I would like to recall. And you can either use MIDI or OSC or whatever. The input in this case is 16 channels of presets. I don't know why it's more, but when I trigger something on my TouchOSC, which I will show in a sec, one of these presets go to 1, and then that triggers the preset change, as we can see on the right, hopefully, with some of them. So it's kind of a cheaty way of live performance, maybe, that, you know, I'm not really performing the visuals live, but rather I'm recalling presets. But that's the only way how you can manage these live sets, I think, if you're playing live music and visuals at the same time. Yeah. Cool. So that's the preset mapper. By the way, there's also other preset managing ways in the TauCeti system. So there's a preset queue list, for example. We can also showcase that. Ooh, yeah. Crash. Wieland, I hope you are seeing this. Okay. Well, then I need to restart the project file. I'm very glad this didn't happen during the performance, but I guess I also didn't really do anything this malicious. Anyway, the queue list is basically a list of presets, like concurrently, and you can just list them in a more let's say better overview and switch between presets. nothing too fancy. Okay. Obviously, if you have any questions, feel free to stop me. I'm also peeping the chat at all times. Okay, the project is back up. Is it? Yes. Okay, are we getting any input from... Yeah, I think it's fine. I just need to fix this preview thing. 1 second. Okay, amazing. Nice. Yeah, so that was the TauCeti preset system. Highly recommend using it for whatever, whenever, always. It's very good. The best preset system I've used in TouchDesigner for sure. Okay, so how am I communicating with TouchOSC or through TouchOSC, and what am I doing in TouchOSC? Maybe let's talk about that, because that is a very important part of the set. And then afterwards, I think I will go into the Bitwig part. So this is my TouchOSC control that would be running on my tablet. I have a few sliders here for general feedback opacity. I actually never used this during the setup, or like the set. I have a general brightness, which I sometimes adjusted, because like, yeah, getting the right amount of brightness on the LED modules, it's not always, yeah, you just need to sometimes adjust depending on how you feel, how much brightness there is in the room. So I had this also on the control, and then here's all my presets from TauCeti that I was triggering. As you can see here, I have a very handy little loading bar that shows me the current preset as well as how the progress is going, switching from one preset to the other. And how this works, it's actually rather simple. These are all the same buttons, let's say the same structure of buttons. So each preset is made of a button and a label, obviously. And then the label has a title, which has this OSC message that, let's switch to TouchDesigner. TouchOSC. Yeah. So when I click one of these buttons, it sends the following message: preset number, label, and text. Is that what it sends? I guess so. Yeah. So let's actually click one of them and look at TouchDesigner. So when I click one of them, it actually sends the preset number only. So it sends preset 2, preset 1, and so on. And that's thanks to preset. It should be in the button. Yeah, here. So each of these buttons send this OSC message that is the parent.name, similar to how in TouchDesigner we have the parents. Also in TouchOSC we have this scheme of parent.name, and then the argument is a number, which is the state of the button. So each button sends its parent's name and the current state over. So each of these buttons, these are the parents, preset 2, preset 4, and so on. And each of these buttons have this OSC message done there. So that's how we are getting these messages through. And that's very handy because when we go back to the preset mapper, I can input this very same channels into the preset mapper, and then they will map to these buttons. So that is very handy. Let's go back here. What I also do is, because I don't want to, when I change the presets, I don't want to one by one come in here and go to the labels and rename them. I don't even know where here in the text. Like, I don't want, I want to be flexible with my setup, that I don't have to do too many things manually. I just want to set up the system and then work as I want. So I don't want to come in here to do all of this. Instead, I have a script that I trigger when I change the presets or on startup. And this communicates to the OSC, to TouchOSC through an OSC out that, and it sends an OSC message, which is preset, the number of the preset, and label 1, and the value, which is the text, which is the name of the preset. So I have the preset list here grabbed from the visual part, preset number, preset name. When this changes, I run this script, so it will it will send preset, let's say preset 1 and guitar chorus, and it sends all of these through OSC. And the scheme is also super simple. We just need to use the same. Fuck, I wasn't showing TouchDesigner. I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this. Okay, rewind. I have the preset list, the name of the presets and the presets themselves, preset names themselves. And when this table changes, it triggers this script. And in the script, all I'm doing is sending the preset number, and I'm setting the label, and I'm sending the string, or like the name of the preset itself. So if we switch quickly back to what I was showing before, my mistake, I'm really sorry. So if I send the message preset 7 label 1 and set it to some value, it sets the text value directly to something else. So I can demonstrate this by, I will just go back to my preset system and change one of the presets. You will see it change. You just saw this glitch noise come in, so I'm changing the top right preset in the preset system. So I'm just changing the preset like this. And then when I do that, it automatically changes the name of that label, simply by sending preset number / label 1 to TouchOSC. So that is very neat and useful and very comfortable. What I can also do here is update my preset indicator, which was the little the loading bar in the bottom, where, for example, if I switch between some presets, this is the tweening that's happening. Like, this is what creates the transition. This is that value coming from the tweener. And what I can do is I can rename this to preset indicator, which is the name of my slider in TouchOSC, and simply send it out to OSC. Nothing fancy there. But then this preset indicator, as I said, it lives in my TouchOSC here as preset indicator as such, and it's gonna look for this /preset indicator message for the value update. Similarly, when I change a preset, I change the current preset name, which is here. Here it's looking for preset name. I'm changing it somewhere here. Yeah. So when I recall a preset, I have a callback that changes the current preset name label to the name of the current preset. So this is how it's kind of automatized, that I don't have to dive into TouchOSC every time that when I update the preset. I just have a few scripts that update certain sliders or labels with their names and their values. So that is very nice. This was the first time that I was using TouchOSC actually in this depth of like actually building my own like whole system in there, but it was nice to do so. So what else do we have? Let me quickly check what's going on here. All good. Yes. Yeah, any questions, feel free to ask. I will then go into more depth if you do. So we covered the general overview of the Dragon system, the general overview how I work with T3D using simple shapes, and then some more complex or like more bigger feedback networks that I'm manipulating. So if, for example, we get in the was this all hardwired Ethernet, the communication between Bitwig and TouchDesigner, like the visual system, was hardwired Ethernet. The TouchOSC with my app or like with my tablet, it was not. It was Wi-Fi. It was Wi-Fi. I'm gonna maybe show when I go into crazy mode, or rather, I will show the Bitwig setup, the Bitwig to TouchDesigner setup first, and then maybe dive into the Bitwig patch itself. So from Bitwig, what am I getting from Bitwig? Here's my Bitwig patch. I'm getting the RMS of certain tracks, certain channels. So to get the volume, I'm not using any audio analysis. I'm only using audio analysis in Bitwig, but then I don't do anything in TouchDesigner because I was not getting audio into TouchDesigner. I was only getting audio into my laptop, which was running Bitwig, and then communicating to TouchDesigner, sending over only the required data. So I'm getting the RMS. I'm also getting the volume fader of some tracks. Here I'm just changing it on my MIDI controller now, and I get that. I was also getting the remote parameters in Bitwig. The remote parameters are basically these project level, let's say custom parameters of Bitwig. So these are like high level controls that can control multiple tracks and multiple parameters at the same time. So I'm getting these also into TouchDesigner. Here I'm changing one of the delays. I'm also getting this is my MIDI keyboard, my main MIDI notes. So when I play some notes, these notes show up here. And I will talk a little bit later about the whole generative audio setup, but basically I hit some notes here and they kind of arpeggiate, let's say. They arpeggiate, they hold the notes and arpeggiate. And then for some tracks, for example, I have kind of like IDM-ish drums, like so. Let's just do the notes. Yeah. Here I have kick, snare, and hat as the 3 channels coming in, and then I use this quite a lot. For example, right now, if we have a look at what's going on here. Maybe I should see it. Not so much what's going on. Give me 1 second. Yeah, I think the volume. So towards the end of the set, I go into this kind of crazy drums that are triggered by these notes. Enough of that. But yeah, these I also use separately. And then I think this is a kick, rather not even the kick, but all the other drum notes also coming in. So these are basically like your classic like MIDI inputs. It's just direct communication from Bitwig to TouchDesigner. And you can check how you can set up TDBitwig. There's a few things that I was missing in TDBitwig, namely getting the volume information from Bitwig tracks into TouchDesigner. What you can get from Bitwig is, if we do a Bitwig track, I believe we have the option to get the, let's put in some audio here. Of course, we get the volume fader here. And then I found somewhere that you can get basically the information that is shown to you on this fader, or like on this indicator of the RMS. But my problem with that is that it's already like a laggy, or like it's a filtered, it's some filtered data that is being shown to you on these indicators. So you're able to get that, but not like a raw RMS information that you can then yourself filter down as you want. And I don't even know where I found it earlier to get the RMS data. Maybe it was the audio envelope that I'm thinking of. But why is it not changing? Anyway, I had a solution for that, where I, at the end of some, let's see here, for example. Yeah, I built this little grid instrument. So yeah, if you don't know, in Bitwig you can build, similar to TouchDesigner, you can build little node systems. And there's a bunch of nodes, not as much as in TouchDesigner. A lot of them are also much higher level than TouchDesigner. But basically in this I build the calculation for RMS, which I then sent out as a modulator. So this modulates this here. If I get in some audio here. we can see this little thing modulate here as the sound is coming in. There's also some filtering that I built into it here, so we can have it unfiltered, let's say. But in the end, this is how I capture the RMS of certain tracks, and then I send or like modulate this back onto the project remotes, and I have this analyze tab here where I'm again just modulating these faders with the same RMS value. And then in TouchDesigner, I am using, similarly to when I was changing some parameters on the project remotes, I can get the modulation of these parameters. So these then become my RMS values of certain tracks. So this is how I kind of hacked RMS, like raw RMS into Bitwig, into TouchDesigner. Obviously it's not like super robust, let's say, because then these don't really have a name, and if I change the order of them, I need to change somewhere here, like the mapping of this rename, where it maps which RMS like parameter belongs to which instrument. It's kind of not robust, but works. So that's how I get the RMS information. And then also what I was missing in TDBitwig is getting the notes that are playing into TD. There is, of course, the Bitwig note that you can use. So this actually does what you want. And then these notes are okay, because this is actually, in this case, these are the drum notes that are playing. So, oops, I want to show Bitwig. So this is the only clip these are the only clips that I have. So it's cool because now it's sending all these notes through OSC to TD. But then what I have a lot in this live setup is a lot of generative stuff. So you can see that there is actually no other clips for my instruments. What I have is, for example, I have this one main synth that I'm playing with a lot. Not this one, but this one. And this generates notes by itself. So it's latching what's coming in, and there's this wave sequencer that I built. I will show in a second. Yeah, but the problem is if I put down a Bitwig note and I want to get these generated MIDI notes, that you can still see them play here. There's this yellow indicator. So there's notes playing. But if I that I didn't want to do. Okay, beautiful. Now I mocked things up. Give me 1 second to reset. Dummy main. Yes, this is what I want. Cool. Yeah, actually I'm gonna put down a new Bitwig note just to show my problem here. So if I select my main here and select in, so this is my main synth that I'm playing mostly. I get the notes when I actually play them. That's fine. And if I put clips into Bitwig and we're playing those clips, I would get the playing notes. But if I generate notes on that same track, I'm not getting the notes output. So in my opinion, there should be, in the Bitwig note, there should be like a toggle if you want the notes at the start of your signal chain or at the end of your signal chain. Because in my case, I would really like to get the notes that I'm generating after I generate them at the end of and of everything. So what I need to do in this case is I have a few dummy tracks, and the only thing that these dummy tracks do is, if I have a look at their routing, which is here, this is getting the MIDI information from somewhere in the MIDI chain of the main track, of the generative main track. So here I'm getting this strum into this dummy main, and then I can pin this note, this Bitwig note, to that dummy channel, and that dummy channel will then display the generated notes. That's kind of a workaround, and then I do the same thing for the 606, like the normal drums. I'm not doing that, but then I have this IDM thing, which is actually also generative, because I'm just sustaining 3 notes here, and then there's a generative arpeggiator that actually creates the notes, or like the sound. So then I also have this dummy IDM track that gets the MIDI from this thing. Yeah, a little bit of a workaround that was needed in TDBitwig. And the volumes, yeah, these are just the volume faders for each track. Nothing too fancy there. But then all of this is here as an output for me. And then in my patch, what I can do, oops, not in here. In my visual patch, what I can do is grab these values. So I have, for example, the main RMS, the main volume, which is actually now muted. Okay, I'm actually not getting the main volume, never mind. But then let's find some of the drum tracks. Let's find this, for example. This part, by the way, my chop control is a mess. If anybody has a clean and good way of building like chops and mapping them, like for audioreactive stuff, let me know. Mine always end up quite a mess, and then I need to always unjumble them. With everything else, I feel kind of confident and clean with my setup, but when it comes to this stuff, not so much. Okay, so let's find these values that are triggering. These are some LFOs. I like, yeah, a little bit late, but there's still some stuff that I'm gonna show. Where is the thing? Give me just 1 second. Is something broken? Something seems broken. I'm gonna... Okay. Let me check what's going on. Because we're getting here these notes, which is very cool. Then we are getting these notes also here. Oh shit! Thank you. I need to watch better what I'm doing with my stream. First time streaming. Yeah. Anyway, I'm just looking at what's happening. Yeah, but as I was saying earlier, my chop networks end up quite a mess, and that's what's also happening now, because I'm now looking at some stuff that I'm trying to find. Basically, I'm looking for these IDM notes, but then also, why are these not coming in? This is weird. I think I'm missing something. Like rename. Huh. But it's still kind of working, which is weird. What's happening? Ah yeah, here we are. Excellent. So yeah, here are the kind of IDM, like these steps, these crazy sounds. I don't know if you can hear them well, but it's not the point anyway. And here, for example, based on the volume of the track, here I'm changing the volume. I'm enabling or disabling these. So if I turn down the volume, it will not have any effect, obviously. So in this way, I can just turn up the volume and then enable this this reaction. There's some lag to it, and then afterwards, this actually is currently, yeah, it's actually better to show this. So it's a similar setup, note coming in, volume enabling or disabling, and then into a speed. And then this is then renamed to random quantization, which goes into this null control. And it should be, why am I not seeing this? Yeah, Aaron, it's a good question. I'm also figuring out at this very moment what I did. I thought I knew, but I think what's happening here is we have this noise here, yeah, and then we have this noise speed that's now driving most of the visuals going on, and then this noise speed, and this is where I'm really lost with my chop networks. Is okay, I have my noise speed here, but then how the heck do I find it where it's coming from, you know? Torus shape noise speed. Yeah, here we go. Okay. Yes, nice. So as I said, it's a mess because this was done, everything was done on the spot regarding chop and like audioreactivity and all that. And it's just whatever works. I just patched it up and then left it, and I didn't even think about what I was doing because I just wanted it to work at that point. But yeah, we have this IDM phase, which is then these little IDM-ish like percussion kicking in, and this increases the phase or like a counter here, and that drives the noise transform. Amazing. And then definitely not. So this drives my noise here. What else can we? I'm gonna switch preset, I think. That will help us. Let's go to something more calm and nicer. Okay. So what are we controlling here in terms of automation? Yeah, here, for example, in this one, if you look at the preview here, I'm actually, let me do this, let me play more notes, we need more notes. Yes. In this one, I'm changing the color period. And this I'm doing based on the master master volume, the master RMS. And again, why the TauCeti is cool, because here inside I can build my chops and map these to the parent somewhere optimally. So I build my chops, my numbers look good, then I can simply reference this inside my right, like on no, okay, sorry, in our parent. So these reference to inside them, and then I can also then remap these. I can build my expressions here in whatever way I want, because in the end the preset system is going to take care of interpolating between these presets and then setting up these parameters, these expressions. So now if I change to a different preset, we can see that now we don't have that expression. Suddenly the color period is not driven by anything from inside my patch. Instead, here I have the feedback rotation driven by an LFO. Like I have 3 LFOs that I just set up that I knew that I would kind of need. And then in this preset I'm using this LFO to, maybe if you look at it here, yeah, I'm using the LFO to create, I think, mostly these kind of curly shapes or curvy shapes. So I can change the feedback rotation to add some more movement into my scene. And also in other presets, I can do something else. So this gives me a lot of freedom of being very messy with my chops and my audioreactive setup, this preset system. That's why I really didn't care what I was doing in here, because the thinking was that whatever I do here, I just reference to the parent, and then the preset system takes care of switching between these different controls, which worked out very, very, very fine in the end. Yeah, maybe that's enough of this topic. It was a bit messy because I was not finding things, but that's also the beauty of the preset system. Now I kind of don't need to. I just click on a preset and then it takes care of everything. Beautiful. Okay, a quick word about the Bitwig setup, if you are interested. So I use Bitwig instead of Ableton since a year now. I've been using Bitwig for, I think, almost 10 years. It's funny because I used Bitwig also like 10 years ago when it launched in 2014, or like after it launched. Actually, now that I think about it, I've been using Bitwig or Ableton for almost 15 years now. Crazy. But yeah, I tried Bitwig in 2014. It was still in very early phases. But now it's my preferred way of working in audio, and especially with TouchDesigner. TD Ableton is nice, but I think the design thinking, like the whole system is just better implemented with Bitwig. As I understand, they were more in close collaboration with Bitwig than with Ableton. TD Ableton is also good. Like I still use it occasionally, but yeah, also just the whole grid system in Bitwig. The fact that I can build my own instruments, my own networks, like I did this one. I can't even zoom out. It's so big. The fact that I can build this, if I have an idea, and not have to deal with Max, because obviously you could build this in Max MSP or Max for Live, but I personally don't like Max. I don't find it intuitive. I cannot, yeah, I just don't like it, and I like this much more. So Bitwig gives me a lot of freedom to to implement my ideas or copy other people's ideas. In this case, for example, this is a wave sequencer, and this is doing a lot of the job, a lot of the carrying. So, for example, this synthesizer. What happens here? This main synthesizer. If I play, I'm just gonna play something random. It's gonna latch these notes, and then it goes into this wave sequencer, which I'm gonna now kind of show what it does. In the wave sequencer, for each note in an octave, for example, here I have like a C. I'm just gonna hold down a C, which I believe is this, right? Okay, and this is now a C for sure. I can set the rate, how often it gets repeated. So now it's gonna be like very rapidly firing this C note that I held. Then I can change the gate of this. It's basically like an arpeggiator, like a per note LFO arpeggiator is how you would maybe describe it. I can offset this from the time because it's synced to the beat. I can offset this also in time. And if you're using a native Bitwig synthesizer, you can change the pan, or like change the pan of the note, or modulate the panning of the note with the rate. So I can do this for each note. I can set up the rate, and you can see that for each note I set up kind of a different rate. So this is cool because then when I play the same, like if I play a chord, it holds the chord, but then in kind of random timing, it keeps repeating those notes. And because these have also some offset and like different rates, it's gonna feel always a little bit different. And yeah, I quite like this little wave sequencer. If somebody is a grid expert among us, please contact me, because I would like to figure out if I did everything like optimal in this setup. I will not do a breakdown of it, but it was quite a challenge to figure everything out. Yeah, what I also do or can do in this setup, I have some general rate multiplication. I can set the maximum bars, which is horrible because I need to use keyboard input. And then what I found super cool, and what I'm using actually, this is too much. What I'm doing with the IDM drums, so these drums, I'm also using the same instrument, the same wave sequencer. And by the way, this wave sequencer idea comes from UVI Falcon. Ben Jordan, who is one of my idols, he made a stream about UVI Falcon's kind of generative MIDI capabilities, and this wave sequencer was one of those things that he showed, and I really like the idea of per note LFO arpeggiation. I really liked it. Then I was like, okay, I need to build this in Bitwig. So for the IDM drums, here again is the wave sequencer, and as I said before, I'm holding just 3 notes, which for kick, snare, and hi-hat, I'm just holding these 3 notes. And then here's the latch that holds them again, and it goes into the wave sequencer. So they all have a rate and an offset setup as in the other case, but actually what happens is I have a randomizer. So each retriggering of a node, we randomize the next retrigger time difference, let's say. And you can also randomize the offset from the grid, like how much it's being offset from the grid. And that's what creates this kind of nice randomized beat. So if I turn off the rate randomizer, okay, this goes quite crazy. But then I can also define what is the minimum and the maximum randomization range. So for example, if I lower this maximum, it goes crazy. Or if I increase this, then things become more spaced out. So it's basically random beats, nothing revolutionary there, but it works quite well. And then it's kind of nice that it's the same wave sequencer instrument driving that as the synthesizers. Side effect asks if the glue between all the programs is TDBitwig and OSC. I would say the glue is TouchDesigner, definitely. Yeah, TouchDesigner is always the glue, because that gets all the OSC messages from TouchOSC and also Bitwig. So that's the master. Back to this synth, which I will try to tame. Yeah. Let's just play a few notes. So back to this synth. What I also do here is a random note octave visor. Why is this still playing so much? Okay. Better. So yeah, for each note, I have a chance that I either transpose it one octave down or one octave up. This is also something that I built. There's a chance for things triggering, the chance for whether it's -1 octave or +1 octave. So it's like three different states that we can achieve. No transpose, octave up and octave down. So this is like whether we do any of that, and if I do this to plus to the 100%, then it's always gonna transpose up. If it's 50-50, then it's 50-50 that it's gonna transpose up or down, if it's gonna transpose at all. So that's also kind of a nice randomization that happens in this generative patch. And then in the end, I'm setting the note length of all these generated notes. I also have this strum instrument here. Side effect says that he's been using Chatan as the glue. You don't have money for TouchDesigner. Well, TouchDesigner for non-commercial use, and you know, like this is not enforced in any way, but you know, rather self-enforced by people usually. And for TouchDesigner, you don't need to have a commercial license for a lot of things. If you don't want to go over 1280 by 720 for visuals, then you don't need it. If you're just going to use it for kind of like master controller between hardware and like different software, then you can definitely get away with non-commercial license. But yeah, if Chatan works for you, then that's all the better, I guess. I just do everything in TouchDesigner. Like that's my life. So if I could, I would live in TouchDesigner. Yeah. Let's not linger on that. Okay, so this is kind of the main synth that does a lot of the work, and as you can see, there's a lot of other synths. So I have this little ambient pad, let's say. This also doesn't have any clips, and it's also playing by itself. And what it does is it's getting the note source from the main wave sequencer. So it's basically taking the output from this chain, which is the wave sequencer plus the random octave. So we're taking that MIDI information, or like that note information, into many other tracks. And what happens here is I'm using, for example, the repeat. What is it called? Repeat. Note repeats. Yeah, the note repeats. I'm using the note repeats. And again, I'm doing some random octave to keep it a little bit more generative also. And then, for example, there's a third one. What is this? Yeah, let's do this one. These little FXC pads or leads. Again, I'm taking the note source from the main wave sequencer. And what I'm doing here, what really makes a difference, or what does a lot of the generative part of the other synths, is a note sample and hold. So I have all these notes coming in from the main synth, which can be quite busy, especially if I play more notes. So there's a lot of notes playing, but then in this other synth, I'm taking all the incoming notes and time to time just take one of the notes, just sample this note and then hold it for an amount of time. So this is also again something that I built in TDBitwig, or sorry, in Bitwig. Here I'm sampling the notes every what was it? Every 3/5 of a of a beat. Also making it, I guess, polyrhythmic or whatever. But this keeps my patch again generative, and I'm not just copying the notes, I'm taking all the notes in and from time to time holding other notes. Similarly to this other synth, again, wave sequencer notes coming in, sample and hold. This is also what happens for the bass. Is it? Yeah. Main wave sequencer notes coming in, sample and hold. And then what I'm also doing here is I wrap all the notes into one octave. I don't want to move out of an octave, because there's a lot of yeah, I just don't want to move out of one octave. I cannot have a better explanation than that. But then I also built this octave wrap, which makes sure that we stay within an octave. That was a very roundabout sentence. And then what is then kind of, what is this? This is the guitar. I have some 303 stuff also. So I think this is quite nice. Can be nice, but sometimes it glitches, right? Like it did now. So what happens here is, again, I'm taking the notes from the main synth. Am I? I think so. I'm taking all the notes in from the main synth, again doing a sample and hold on one chain, but then on another chain I'm doing another sample and hold. But I don't always let this other sample and hold go through. So basically I have one sample and hold, another sample and hold, this is kind of the stable one, and sometimes I blend in the other sample and hold to create these higher notes and the note slides. So sometimes I enable this parallel sample and hold. Yeah, that's the best way to describe it. It was a lot of fine tuning and just finding what works and what kind of density of notes I want to get, and I really wanted to get the note slides because those are super beautiful in the 303. I'm using, by the way, the Arturia Acid 5 303 emulator here. And then there's one more acid part in the song. Is when the drums come in. Like so. This is again generative. I'm taking the notes from the bass, which, you know, took the notes from the main wave sequencer. But then I take the bass notes so that we are kind of always in line with our bass notes, or like bass frequencies. And in this 303, I am arpeggiating the incoming bass notes. But then also sometimes I enable a parallel note generator to create extra octaves, and maybe even sometimes a fifth into the note generation. And then I can play with this vibe. Yeah, generative MIDI is cool because then I could focus on just playing the few notes in the beginning, mixing my audio live, playing with parameters in the sound, and kind of let things play by themselves. But at one point, I actually switched to manual control when the acid kicks in, like not the acid itself, but the acid synth, because I wanted to have more like, let's say, controlled sounds, like controlled notes. I didn't want the random anymore. So when I hit a button on my MIDI keyboard, I am arming the bass, and at the same time I'm muting the note source that is coming from the main synth. So now I have free reign over my bass. So I'm playing these notes live. But then if I want, if I have to be busy with my hands somewhere else, I can re-enable the generative input into the track. That was kind of also like a trick that I did. Yeah, I think that's basically the Bitwig setup. And with that also, I think I went through everything. I hope it wasn't too messy. I was kind of winging the order of things, but yeah, now would be a good time to maybe ask questions if you have any, or if you have any comments. I will also just think about if there's anything else that I wanted to show. Because I showed the patch, I showed TouchOSC, I showed the Bitwig setup. Not sure what else. Thank you to DVR, thanks a lot. Mario asks, is it nicer for live performance? I mean, for example, sending live audio to TD. I think, like, whenever I can, if I'm doing the live performance myself, I would opt to using MIDI as much as I can. Like in this case, it was mainly, let's say, MIDI, but like OSC from Bitwig. That way you are kind of free from audio latency that comes from the audio interface, as well as the inaccuracy of audio analysis. So whenever I can, I try to go MIDI. Side effects is asking if I did any custom TouchOSC scripting. Not really. No, I'm only using the default messages, like just sending out the name of the slider and then the value of the slider, as well as for labels, just sending out the label name. So no extra scripting. Mario asks if Ableton versus Bitwig. It's up to your preference, really. The reason that I prefer Bitwig, as I said before, because I can get away from using Macs, but still build my own instruments, and there's more cross modulation opportunities between tracks and like within tracks than in Ableton. Although I think Ableton is also moving in that direction. They are recognizing the power that Bitwig is implementing in terms of modulation. So soon maybe they will be quite equivalent there, but I just like the grid system more than Max. Yeah, it's really up to your preference when it comes to just general live performance. Yeah, thanks, Aaron. TDVR is asking, is there any reason you did one big visual instrument instead of scene changing so that you can use TauCeti preset manager? The reason that I built one big visual instrument is because I didn't want to do any scene changing. Actually, I didn't need to do any scene changing. But in general, when I build visuals or live instruments, I try to build them in a way that it's one big system that is malleable, or like that is like multi-purpose. So I don't really think of scenes, rather visual instruments, and then that gets rid of the problem of scene changing and performance issues. Obviously, if you're doing a 10-hour set or something, you cannot get away with just one scene that is like a huge scene, but yeah, it does a lot of things. That is just not realistic that you can do that for an extended amount of time. So then, of course, I would be fine with scene changing, but as long as I can, I try to stay away from scene changing. But still, if you were using scene changing, you could still be using the TauCeti preset manager. It doesn't stop you from utilizing that or using both at the same time. Mario's asking, how am I sending audio through to TD? I'm not sending audio through to TD. I'm only sending the RMS values from Bitwig to TouchDesigner, for example. What is happening here? Why is nothing playing? There we go. Sorry. I'm only sending the analyzed data to TouchDesigner because I didn't wanna deal with audio interfaces and like all that. As I said, maybe you missed that part, but my general setup was that. Let me go back to the images. Okay, yeah. So this is my setup for the live. This was my setup. My MacBook M1 running Bitwig, and with an Ethernet cable communicating to a switch where the TouchDesigner patch was running on another computer, like the main server of the space. And that was just running by itself, headless, let's say, or like without any intervention. All the intervention happened through TouchOSC and through Bitwig. So like if I change the parameter in Bitwig, that was also communicated to the visual server running the TouchDesigner patch. So in that sense, I'm yeah, and this is my audio interface. This was directly connected to my M1, and then because I was doing the audio analysis on Bitwig, I was just sending that through Ethernet to the main server. Hey Alan, you just arrived at the end, but it's nice to see you here. Yeah, again, this way I could avoid having another audio interface and like patch cables running through and all that through the main server, instead just doing the audio analysis on Bitwig itself. Yeah. I will release on my Patreon the wave sequencer. I think I will do that at one point. I don't know how many Bitwig users there are in my Patreon or among my Patreon subscribers, but I will definitely release the wave sequencer, and then I should do a separate setup on, or like a separate video on my TouchOSC setup, and even release some components that already do the scene switching and all that together with the TauCeti. Yeah, and in general, do check out T3D because it's amazing. Not only for volumetric content generation, like, you know, in this case, it's like the best use case of T3D having the actual volumetric modules. But then you can also do super amazingly looking things with it that others are doing. I haven't dove into it other than using it for volumetric setup. So yeah, it's just super nice. You can also use it together with RayTK, so you can combine RayTK and T3D, which is also super nice. That's something that I started playing with in the beginning, but then just stuck with super simple shapes and just a ton of feedback and different feedbacks for driving the visuals. Yeah, I think that is kind of it. I also need to go to an event of a friend. He's gonna do 16 CRTs and also projecting on fabrics, and yeah, it's like a super cool setup that he's doing here in Berlin for Philo Tsungi. If I pronounce it correctly, she's the drummer for Mars Volta, but she's also playing synthesizers and stuff, and there's gonna be her playing synthesizers, an orchestra, and like loads of CRTs and projection. So that's where I'm going right now. Mario is asking what TK RayTK. RayTK, I'm writing it in the chat. This is by Tommy Atkin, a Ray marching toolkit for TouchDesigner. Yeah, it's happening now, Alan, so that's where I'm going now. Yeah, I'm planning to do hopefully more streams. Yeah, this was kind of a test setup also with my Stream Deck and OBS and everything, so sorry for missing some cues and showing the wrong screen. I need to find a better orientation that I can monitor things better. Yeah, thanks for hanging out, and be sure to check out my Patreon. There's a lot of things there that I don't have here on YouTube, much more than on YouTube. So yeah, hope to see you around, and always I'm an open book. Feel free to ask questions on my Discord or on Instagram, and I hope to see you guys around, and thanks for being here. Ciao, ciao. How do I stop this? Oh yeah. Okay, bye bye.